Hey everybody, what are some crazy trends that we're seeing recently from USCIS regarding EB-5 petitions and adjudications? Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name's Charles Raether, managing partner here at AmLaw Group in Miami, Florida, where for over 15 years, we've been dealing with some of the most difficult and challenging EB-5 cases that you can consider. I mean, we deal with clients from all over the world, including some really difficult markets that, only recently have been using, digitized, statements and electronic documentation and whatnot. And that always makes a big challenge for putting together an EB-5 case. But there's really nothing that scares us anymore, I would say, given all our experience. And today I wanted to talk about some recent trends that we're noticing with EB-5 adjudications and things you should keep an eye out for when you're considering doing EB-5. Talk to your attorney about it and make sure you've got these issues handled before you file your petition. So first and foremost, what I would say, probably maybe the most disturbing trend we've been seeing is where USCIS is asking for confirmation that cash that went out of a bank account is the exact same cash that went back in. So imagine, what scenario are we talking about? Again, this is source of funds analysis. And let's say a client has a bank account where he or she is receiving salary and bonuses. He works, for a company, receiving salary and bonuses, been working there for 5 years, maybe 10 years. So we have a long history of the bank account that we've kind of got to explain all the money coming in and going out. And understandably, people take out cash sometimes, and sometimes they might put in large amounts of cash. And especially if you're in a developing market, maybe China, Russia, possibly India as well, we see it sometimes, but I would say Russia in that region, it's very common. And we're noticing an increasing trend where USCIS is asking for evidence, for proof, that the cash that was taken out is the same cash that's being put back in. Now you think about that for a minute. I think only a government bureaucrat could even ask a question like that. So for example, let's say you're depositing and you've got this $100 bill and you're giving it to the bank and depositing it. And a week from now, you want to withdraw that $100 bill that you deposited with them a week ago. You'd like to withdraw that $100 right now, but you don't just want any $100. You don't want 5 20s. You don't want 10 10s. You want a $100 bill. And that bill should be the exact same bill that you deposited a week ago. I mean, we all understand this is ridiculous. The world doesn't work that way. It never will, and it never has. But for some reason, some officers at USCIS seem to think, and I don't think these guys are renegades, I think this is something that's been told to them by their higher-ups, that they need to monitor, that we need to now prove that these exact bills that were withdrawn from the bank account are the same ones going back in. I think it's ludicrous. And of course, we can't say that to them directly. We're going to have to be diplomats. We're going to have to be typical lawyers and come up with some fancy language to say, you guys have fallen off your rocker. But that's a disturbing trend we've increasingly seen. Now, we've seen it very recently only, and we've tended to see it more with clients from Russia. But again, this is just something to keep in mind, that USCIS is constantly changing their adjudicatory standards. And it doesn't matter, again, when these investors maybe invested, maybe 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it doesn't matter what the rules were back then. USCIS, I feel, sometimes makes it up as it goes. And, it doesn't matter whether, our client invested funds 5 years ago using the requirements and the law as it was applied back then 5 years ago. No, they've changed it. And now we've got to deal with the new realities as they currently exist. So that's one thing that we've noticed. Another trend that we've noticed is the commingling of funds. They are definitely paying more attention to this than they did in the past. So commingling, and I've talked about this in other videos, is when you have one account, but you have money coming into that account from various sources. And once you have these various sources coming in, even if you say, I'm only going to use this one particular source for my EB-5, my salary. And so the $800,000 that accumulated in this account, I'm only going to use that part of it that I received as salary. And here you can see I had $800,000 in salary that came in. But if in addition to that, you had another, let's say $200,000 that came in from some other sources, I don't know, your friend paid you some money back. You had some dividends or other earnings on some stocks you had. You sold a house and you put the earnings from that house sale in that same account. What the government's going to do is they're going to say, well, we understand out of this big pot of money $800,000 was from your salary, but we see another $200,000 that came from some other sources, and we're not really sure where exactly. You're going to have to prove the source of all of those funds. And that can be a problem when this is all going on in the past. If it's something that's currently happening or in the future, we can warn our clients and tell them in advance and make sure, hey, don't wire money from a different source into this bank account. If this is something that happened 2 years or 5 years ago, there's no way we can change this, reverse it, or whatnot. And the worst case is if we can't reverse it and change it, we then have to prove where all the money came from, not just the $800,000. So depending how much extra money you had in that account, that could create some problems that might be difficult to deal with. And if you're considering EB-5, hopefully this gives you a little bit flavor of some kind of the craziness we have to deal with. And that's why you hire people such as ourselves to deal with these nuances and to hire people who are monitoring the situation on an ongoing basis. And we can see which way the service is moving so that when we get around to filing your petition, we're already anticipating, okay, hey, they're going to pay attention to this possibly. What do we need to do to avoid any problems? But I will admit immediately that we do not have a crystal ball. We can't anticipate every move that USCIS is going to make in the future. But fortunately, given our work, we have a good idea, at least for most of those issues. If you're considering EB-5 or possibly another category, please reach out to us. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love it if you could leave a like. And if you'd like to get further updates in the future, please subscribe to our channel.